Look, there was once a man, he wrote a book, and the title of the book was Awaken in the Dream of Reality. I think his name was definitely, I think Terence McKenna, PhD, rest in peace. I hope I have the titles right. In any case, he wrote a book called Awaken in the Dream of Reality. Now, there's such a powerful truth to the thought process that is being communicated by those words. Because, look, I'm standing here right now and I'm looking at this mountain ravine in front of me, right? It's just absolutely majestic up here. It's just, I'm essentially staring into space up this mountain ravine. Hallelujah. Yo. It's so beautiful, and I start to realize this is like a dream. Yet, it's, what time? Like 2:54 p.m. on Friday, 18th of April, 2025, right? In the middle of the Alps. Hallelujah. Yet, it's all like a dream. Now, why is it like a dream? Because in this quiet state, you're looking at it all and you realize it's a good dream, actually. It's a good dream. Why do I say this? Because it is. Yes, that's the point too. It's a good dream that we're dreaming here in this real life. And the reason why is because, you see, I'm looking at this ridge there and I'm thinking about what's behind this ridge. Okay, now I know approximately what is that way for many miles over the pass and so on, because I've been on the other side. Yet, while I'm standing here looking at this, I'm sort of dreaming of what is beyond this ridge. And then I start to realize that, like, beyond what we're seeing, okay, the process is going on within, even in our imagination and the mind's eye. It's that same mechanism that is operational when you're dreaming in the evening, resting, and when you're right here in total daylight. We still have this process of imagining things. There's this generative process going on that is like a dream mechanism. And what this is very interesting, because it's as if, based on the fact that we are little creators, in fact, we are even the manifestation of that what is God, in the form of a living man of God, or a righteous woman, male or female, created he them, to him be the praise. You start to realize that though this is a set matrix, a world, a womb, the earth plane with different elevation, the heavens, this matrix that serves us so that we can live and breathe and operate, and right? There's this powerful mechanism within us that is the dreaming mechanism, and it's what could be described as the imagination but also the mind's eye, how we think of things. So like, I'm thinking right now about the future, for example. I'm thinking, okay, what's going to happen? I sent all these applications to all these different places. Hopefully that's going to work, because I'd like to be making money again soon, and yada, 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 and all this stuff. But so, hold on a second. Examine and retract, go within and examine for a second. What are you dreaming up about? What are you thinking about? What are you affirming also? And also, pay attention to what you're actually envisioning and visualizing within, and why. Because, see, there's a true freeing that happens when you, and this is also something that's actually commanded by the holy law, that we're supposed to think on, like, whatever things that are goodly, that are legit, that are basically holy, sacred, pure, lovely, good things that are pleasing to God, basically. That's what we're supposed to be thinking about. And if that's what I'm supposed to be thinking about, then that's what I should be daydreaming about, imagining, and so on. And if you start to do this on a regular basis, what happens is, it's like the reality ahead of you, it's gradually sort of being imagined and produced. Sort of what comes to pass is what we're imagining and visualizing and affirming, and somehow more through that actually projecting somehow, and this information is being sent out, and then it's taking on formation and material physical existence somehow. So, just so that you can understand this, yes, this heavens and this earth and this matrix, like, this was set here, put in place long time ago, approximately 7,515 years ago, by the Creator. Blessed be His name, right? And then, of course, I'm only 36, right? So this was already here. This platform, this matrix was put in place by Abba for us to also to live, right? Hopefully according to His will, though. And though what's still going on is that we are actually the embodiment and the manifestation of that what is God, based on the information also from a perfect example of all, our boss, Yeshua the Messiah, saying, I and my Father are one. Amen. He that has seen I has seen the Father. So we got to understand for a second that, and this is a very important point to actually get, to understand, because then you actually know pretty much everything about your true self as a human, because we're all designed according to the same blueprint, and that can be simply seen even on the physical levels. You've got male and female, and hey, that female has the same anatomy as that female, and so does that one, and that male is like that male. It's the same design, same blueprint. You got to know that for a fact, though. You got to know that. See, the interesting thing is, if we go through life and we think that that what's going to happen and so on is that it's being directed by an external source, then there's a problem. And that's the biggest possible human illusion or self-delusional sort of a state that's possible, because it's like the biggest illusion and delusion is that of an external deity. And the reason I say this is because, see, it even starts with how linear time is, and how we perceive linear time and history and sequences of events. So if you're going to go and investigate your history and the history of the universe and everything, you'll go to Genesis, you'll read 1:1, and it says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Okay, amen, 100%. Yet, then, later, He creates basically human beings. But see, there's a detail there that has to be properly understood, and that's that what actually happened with the way to almost explain how God came to be is to say that the Father, the Son, and the Holy Breath united, Elohim, majestic plural, name of God, right? Father, Son, Holy Breath, united, manifested Adam. Very good. A manifestation of God. So it's like Adam is manifested, Father, Son, Holy Breath, triunited, manifested, equaling God. That's the order of it. That's how it works. So then with that perspective in mind, because this difference in perspective probably makes the most difference that anything could make that a human can correctly see. And the reason why is because I'm standing here and I'm saying that God is within us. We are that what is God, actually, ultimately. And yes, now, of course, God is totally universal and omnipresent and all-encompassing and omnipotent, omnipresent, etc., etc. That's true. Yet, first and foremostly and primarily and even actually really embodied by us as human beings, created in His image and after His own likeness. So, to think that there's an external source out there that we're sort of being projected or emanated from, that there's like an external power source, it's wrong. That God is within us, the power is within you, and you are that what is the manifestation of God or Elohim. The proof for this is a perfect example of our boss, Yeshua the Messiah, who, he said, I and my Father are one. Amen. He has seen I, has seen the Father. Amen. And so on and so forth. So, what this is actually telling us is that, and now the reason why I'm explaining this is because of the fact I was talking about that life, good life, is like a good dream. Because what's going on is that because of the fact that we are essentially, now, if you look at this from above, the best way to see this is from the eagle sky eye point of view, right? Is that you've got this earth plane, this matrix, and you got some 8 billion humans, yet they're all designed according to the same blueprint. And every human, and you'll be able to relate to this from your point of view. I realize that actually everything that I'm saying and emanating and projecting right now even is the way it is, or it's going to be that way because I'm like creating it that way as I speak. But it's true though, it's not, it's something that is logical, is that every one of us is actually like an individual God, an Elohim. And that, so because the reason why this is true is because somebody else can relate to this and understand this and perceive this and get this, and it's true. Is that you dream things that are good and they happen. Where is this coming from? It's proof that something is going on within us in the visualizing mind's eye dream mechanism that then is dreamt, imagined, saw it in a dream, then it's real. It came from within and it went out there. And that's the thing, is that we emanate into the matrix. It's like we're generatively, positively, hopefully projecting into the matrix through our divine dreams, ideas, inspirations, and then words, thoughts, deeds, actions. It's happening. Even how I have thoughts that I'm expressing verbally, it's going out there. You're forming the universe around you, reforming it. That's how it works, okay? And the reason why this is important to understand that that's like the order of operations of creation from our divine human Elohim self, our self, or perhaps the higher self, dreaming, visualizing, emanating, right? Thinking, speaking, doing, actually making this happen, this real, in terms of what exactly manifests too. And so then this mechanism that's at the sort of at the basis of this, in our mind's eye, in our ras, in our head, could be also described as a crown chakra, or that central computing, perception, existence, self, soul, thoughts, feelings, emotions, mind's eye center, command center that we have in our being. It's up in here, it's behind the eyes. It's like right in the center of our higher levels of being. If I were to tell you where it is physically, it's like I perceive it to be the center of myself, with my existence that is universal, and that is how I'm also in this universe. And right, it's like it's behind the eyes, inside the skull, somewhere in the center, up high. It's more than what we're seeing with, and like looking at this tree and going, oh, it's beautiful. Oh, but what's going on is you're actually looking into creation and the universe as the creator. You're looking into it right now. So that's why all forms of idolatry are totally self-delusional and fire burnt, because we're actually the real embodiment of the creator, whether male or female, on the highest levels. We're standing here, we're in this matrix, looking at it, shaping it. I see these mountains over here. That's all God. God is omnipresent, universal, and everything at first and foremost within us. And so these dreams and ideas that we have, they're actually, it's like they're God generated within, and they manifest out there gradually. Sometimes you see things like in a dream that you dreamt. They call that a déjà vu, okay? Or what happens is you feel like during the day, all of a sudden you feel like you're in a dream. And you ask yourself, what? And then you realize it's the same way I felt during the day, that something was like a dream, the same way I felt in the evening when I was resting, and you start to realize that it's the same mechanism there. It's a visualizing, imaginative mind's eye that's at work within us. And this is actually giving way to and programming sort of the reality that's incoming, but it's actually because of what we're sending out, and it's the reality that's ahead of us that's coming is being pre-programmed by what we're sort of visualizing, emanating, and actually projecting. So, okay, now there's examples of this. This has happened before. I've been in wow, that is correct though. Okay, one example of this. I was in a town square somewhere, and I was watching the news. I was looking at the news, and they said, "Oh, there's a lot of this going on, this and that." And then I thought, And then, just as I lift my eyes up, I see what was described on the news happening in front of me. But I was thinking this, and like the moment I started thinking about something that was being described, a scenario in the news, then it started happening right in front of my eyes. So the question is, was that a coincidence, or was that incoming signal from the outside world that I looked at and took in and processed, then being sent out and then thus like programming? Another thing, this is true. This is a very powerful fact. So I discovered once that, so we have this, it's almost related to this mechanism of faith. Faith moves mountains. Yeah, we're in the mountains. It's saying that faith really is a prime mover of even everything sort of as it exists and so on. There's a thing with this mechanism of faith. Mechanism of faith, yeah? So the mechanism of faith, it's like, it's said, right, in the New Testament, it says, Faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. Double honors. Amen. Faith is a substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So it's sort of telling us that actually, I guess, your faith is somehow linked to your imagination, because it's got to do with, it's like you're expecting this to happen or that to happen a lot. You're thinking a particular way, and the way you're thinking seems to be also having an effect on what you were expecting, affirming to be more real or probable, and so on. So, of course, you have to act wisely with faith to actually produce the right things with God's help. Yeah? Yet, just looking at this mechanism of faith is sort of interesting, because okay, how can you can overcome and triumph over the complete and total world and everything and everybody if you keep your faith. So this is directly related to how we emanate, dream, think, speak, do, manifest, how we emanate into the matrix, right? And how that then has an effect on what actually is produced by the matrix in terms of the details of what happens. Now, if you can always sort of, I guess I can explain it this way. It's sort of, it's a peculiar thing, yet I know it's true. If you can aim your faith out. So, by myself out here, it's easy to talk like this. There's nobody that could distract me or whatever. Yet, it's like, if you keep your faith aimed, if you keep emanating positively, visualizing, dreaming, thinking on what's good, what's legit, what's divinely commanded, have good things that are good in the eyes of God in mind as much as possible, and then you're dreaming and thinking about that. It's a holy and sacred, pure emanation and visualization, thinking, speaking, doing. You're creating a Yetzirah creation, actually forming. You're emanating the signal, okay? And this is true of human beings. It's the proof for this that I'm correct with this basic way that it works, how we project into life and life becomes thus, sort of, is because of even how a human has a voice. There's thoughts, and the voice expresses this, and it goes out. I have to open my mouth and speak for you to hear this. It's like we're emanative. We're emanating. So we are literally, so to say, little, like children of God, gods, little creators who are creatively emanating and projecting on, emanating into, and actually forming the matrix around us. We're programming it as we go, and as it is emanated by us. It's actually true. Because sometimes what will happen, so hold on. Seems as if the ultimate strength that you can possibly have, that is from God within actually, and therefore the ultimate source, is if you can actually maintain, let's say, a directly, divinely inspired, holy, sacred, and pure thought process that's based on God's communication from within to you, and then think about that, have it be clean, have it be fit, good thoughts, good things, and then talk about it and do it and emanate, and you're continuously emanating and sending out signal creatively, and thus sort of continuously programming and reigning over your environment, okay? Versus being affected by any incoming signal. any incoming signal. So part of a way to actually understand this theory is that the human could be looked at as being like a radio antenna transmitter, that it has the capacity to transmit, to send out information and inform the universe, and then like experience or receive it in that form, sort of. And that's based on, now we're getting into Kabbalah here actually, because as you're sending, you will be receiving, and receiving is Kabbalah. So it's like you reap, you sow, and then you reap. You Kabbalah. You Kabbalah what you reap what you sow. So that's a fact. So that cannot be changed. I'm thinking if by faith alone I can, so my wise instinct is telling me to seek distance from these others who are there on the trail, just also so I can keep this thought process going, be by myself. What it is though is that you actually have this thing going on where if you can only transmit, well, guess what? You can completely program your environment and your life to a certain degree from within, versus being affected by any incoming signal, any other emanation. And where is that relevant? The only type of other being or other thing that can actually have an effect on these processes whereby we can sort of emanate and rule responsibly and have like mastery over everything in our environment is another human, because humans have the ability to emanate creatively. So like another person, like I can meet another person now who will talk to me, and then they'll express thoughts and ideas, and it could, I might, I hear what they're saying, okay, I start thinking about it, that's incoming signal. And if let's say if my meditation is just totally divine and godly and superior, then I have to maintain that and stay with that and emanate that, right? Versus being affected by incoming signal from other humans. It doesn't come from lambs, birds, animals. They don't talk to you and open their mouth and say, listen, my friend, are you really sure that you have the ability to master your destiny in accordance with God's will through the wisdom that He gave you? Are you really sure it's going to work out? A lamb is not going to open its mouth and say that to you. Another human could do that. But, yet. So if you can maintain a superior divine, actually listening to the cosmic mind within, and then, so you're perceiving God's thoughts, intelligently discerning them, acting on the ones with wisdom that are at the right time, within the right cycles of life, so that will bear good fruit, right? You're thinking about this, speaking about this, doing this. You're living the divine way, because you're like God in the flesh, standing in the Garden of Eden, creating and walking the earth and creation as the Creator Himself or herself, based on your physical existence, Himself as a male or herself as a female. Yet God is triple masculine, Father, Son, Holy Breath, energetically triple masculine, of course. Yet what I'm saying is that the difference between, it seems like the